Hello friends, I'm Dustin. Thanks for joining us on SERVi Homestead again. We really appreciate your commitment and faithfulness to watching this channel. We hope we're providing you with some entertaining and helpful content. So please subscribe and like this video. Today we are going to look at a simple carburetor on a push mower engine. In this case it's a Briggs & Stratton engine, very common. We're going to take the carburetor off, take it apart and clean it to show you what you can do to get your lawnmower running again. The first thing we need to do is remove the air filter cover and the air filter, flathead or a nut driver. This comes right out. I already took the air filter out, it was pretty bad. This can also be kind of nice for holding screws and things while you're working on it, so put it on the side and use it as a holder. Alright, then we have these 3 screws right here. Yep, 5/16. So if I squeeze the socket and it clicks going in the loosen direction, then that means I'm set and tighten, because it grabs when I go clockwise and tighten. So some have a lever for left and right. This one is the twist, so twist towards tighten because it's set and tighten, and then it will be in loosen. So things like this that are in 3s, it's kind of a good idea to loosen them a little bit each at a time before taking one all the way off, just because whatever they're holding down may have a gasket or seal on it, and just like the rim on your tire, you want to loosen and tighten the lug nuts in a pattern. So it's a good idea to loosen them each bit by bit instead of taking them one at a time off completely. It keeps this plastic cover from distorting. And where we're going to put these? In our air filter cover. You know, sometimes as I ponder and think about life and different things, I wonder, why is it a carburetor and not a truckerator? Man. That was a joke. Okay. Sometimes there's a little hose back here, so wiggle this off. Yep, the hose is right here. It's a little breather hose, and it attaches to this. So when it goes on, it stabs right into the hose. The hose is usually stiff enough. There's a gasket right here. Keep it in good shape. Try not to tear it or mess with it, because we may not need to get a carburetor gasket kit for this. But if we take this off and clean it and it still doesn't run, then we can look online and find the model, type, and code or serial number off of this engine and go to our local lawnmower repair shop, or just look online and order the carburetor gasket kit for this. Alright, so we took off the air filter housing. Now we need to take the carburetor from the engine, and there are a couple of bolts back here, and here. They're not really that easy to get to. 3/8. It's good to have a nice complete set of sockets. Small drive, regular drive, and the large drive. Have them laid out and put them back immediately when you're done with them. And wipe them down with a rag so that they're not sitting there with grease and dirt on them. Alright, so we're looking for the upper one right here. It's holding the carburetor on. And slightly loosen it and find the other one back here. Kind of hard to get in there. Okay, got it. Slightly loosen it. And go to the other one. Now they're both loose, so we won't distort the seal. The carburetor meets the engine. Go ahead and take them both off. Okay. Pretty tight back there. In this case, a nut driver would be great. Once you get it loose with the socket wrench, the nut driver is usually a little thinner, lower profile, and it's easy to get back there. Okay. Got it? Yeah. It's there. Get it out later. Alright. You may get fuel dripping out of here, so a quick trick is to squeeze locking pliers onto here so that gasoline doesn't drip out on you. So you can set your locking pliers to be closed almost all the way. Squeeze them close to the end because you don't want the fuel that's in the hose to come out. A little bit too tight. Okay. Needle nose pliers work. So these little spring clamps can be a little bit aggravating. You need to grab both of these two prongs up here and this one evenly and at the same time for it to open up and then wiggle back. There we go, it wasn't too bad. And sort of clean as you go. We don't want trash getting into the fuel system. And squeeze lightly at the end of the hose and twist and rotate until you kind of feel it break free from the little pipe that it's on. Then a little bit of prying in between with flathead screwdriver. And then I use this to get in there and pry more instead of pulling the hose off. It's more controlled and it just works better. There. Okay, so what else is holding the carburetor on? We took the two bolts off. Well, you have a linkage for the throttle control. In a mower like this, you don't have a speed lever. It's simply controlled by a little air-powered governor. So there's a little fan blade that sits under here next to the flywheel, and as the flywheel spins, it displaces air. That air hits the little fan blade and actually flutters the butterfly in the carburetor to keep it from giving too much fuel and air. So it's a way to regulate the speed. So when the flywheel starts going too fast, it blows more air, and this little fan blade moves your throttle a little bit more closed. So it slightly slows the engine down and lets it speed up, slows it down. But you don't really notice it. It kind of evens out. So we need to get this top cover off. Phillips screwdriver. Good thing about a job like this is none of these screws can fit in the wrong place really. They're all different sizes. Just move this out of the way. Now we can really see. Okay, so here's the top of the carburetor. Here's the carburetor itself. This is a bowl style carburetor. This is the bowl. This is the body of the carburetor itself. It's just a pipe. And so here's the linkage for the governor air fan I was telling you guys about. So, oh no, wait, this is the automatic choke thingy. So when you first start the engine, this air intake flap is closed most of the way, and so that lets less air come in relation to the little droplet of fuel that gets atomized with the air. So you end up having a richer mixture of air and fuel because you let less air come in. But as soon as the engine starts and speeds up, it pushes this out of the way, and bam, you get the full amount of air because you really only need it in the initial startup. So it's an automatic choke. You choke off the air, but once the engine starts running, the air from the flywheel blows this and opens it up. That same air blows on this linkage and moves it to regulate the fuel, and we'll see in a second the fuel is another flap back there. So we need to take all of this stuff off. Just a little tiny 1/4-inch bolt here, and this Z-bend in this linkage right here. The carburetor will simply go down, sideways, and back, and then this spring, and then we will have a carburetor. Okay, here we are. Tiny little 1/4-incher. Love doing this kind of thing. It's so fun. It's like problem solving, and I really like little details, and I also like conserving stuff. I don't like having to throw things away. So when something can have a new lease on life and be used again for a little while, it makes me happy. Oh, this thing goes way back there, so we'll just leave it there. Okay, so there, nothing else holding it on. So here's the Z-bend. So we simply hold the throttle from moving, go to the side, pop it right off. There we go. Now we have a dusty, crusty carburetor to deal with